Quaxly! The newly hatched Pokemon declares, and this sets a huge smile on Serena's face as she picks it up, spinning it around much to the baby Pokemon's delight. Ash then pulls out his Pokédex to see what it has to say on Quaxly. Unfortunately, Dexter is no use here, calling the little water type an unknown species, much to the boy's consternation. Serena, however, is far too delighted to care, promising that they'll figure out things on their own if they have to, a claim which Quaxly wholeheartedly endorses, flapping its wings and honking in agreement. Finally, the girl places the duckling Pokemon down, reaching into her bag for a Pokeball so she can formally add Quaxly to her team. But before her hand can find a ball, a terrible rumbling knocks her off her feet, as on the far side of the gym, an armoured machine with a hose on the front bursts through the wall. Furiously, Misty and the Sensational Sisters demand to know who's just damaged their home. But from the big letter R emblazoned on the front of the machine, Ash and his companions have a pretty good idea who it is. And they are not wrong, as moments later Jessie, James and Meowth burst from inside the contraption, reciting their motto and announcing their intention to steal all the Pokemon here, a claim which draws the ire of our heroes, who as one told the trio to get lost. Wickedly, Meowth cackles the only loss they're going to be is lost on how they're going to spend all their bonus money when they turn these Pokemon over to the boss. And then with a press of a button, the hose on the front of the vehicle springs to life, sucking up everything it can. Still being in the pool, Gyarados, Loverin, Seal and Goldeen are quickly caught up in the pool, while on the floating platforms the pair of Pikachu are also lifted into the air. Lastly, poor Quaxly is sent flying towards the large vacuum, terror in its face as it flaps its wings and squawks for its mother to save it. Seeing the anguish on the twerps' faces, Jessie laughs that this is the way the cookie crumbles, but her haughty expression quickly changes when James taps her on the shoulder, pointing out that it doesn't look like they're crumbling at all. Meowth agrees, adding that if anything it looks like they're getting really mad. The Scratch Cat's hunch is quickly proved right as Brock, being the only one who has not lost a Pokemon to Team Rocket, brings out Onix and has it wrap around the hose nozzle, stopping it from sucking anything else up. This at last allows his friends to move without risking being pulled into the vacuum, and so Ash and Serena waste no time, running up to the machine, with Ash climbing the side ladder to confront Team Rocket, while Serena attempts to find a way to free the trapped Pokemon. As Ash's Beedrill unleashes a flurry of Twin Needles which turns the crooks into a pack of pincushions, Serena finds a hatch which seems to lead into the containment area. However, it is locked. Taking a leaf from Ash's book, Serena decides to approach this problem the most direct way she can, bringing out Eevee and asking it to break the lock with Double Kick. The small fox is happy to comply, and 2 swift strikes later, the lock and hatch are both in pieces on the gym floor, while Pikachu, Quaxly and the other Pokemon begin to clamber their way out. Dejectedly, James objects, saying he and his friends stole those Pokemon fair and square, so the twerps can't steal them back. But unluckily for him, the heroes have other ideas, with Misty and her sisters having their Pokemon douse the vacuum machine and Team Rocket with water, while Lissia and Ash have their Pikachu fire off a Thunderbolt Electro Ball combo, which thanks to the conductivity of the water, is able to blow up the contraption and send Team Rocket blasting off again. As this happens, Quaxly watches on with awe at the strength of the other Pokemon, its eyes shining with wonderment. Bending down with a Pokeball now in hand, Serena smiles that it too can get strong like them if it travels with her, and this is all the invitation Quaxly needs, pecking the front of Serena's Pokeball and allowing itself to be captured. Gathering round her, Serena's friends add their congratulations, with none being happier for her than Ash, who pats her on the back, saying he's sure she'll make a great trainer for Quaxly. He then looks back to Misty, wondering if she's given any more thought to taking the gym challenge, but the redhead replies that she doesn't know. For now she's gonna stay here and help repair the gym, and that should give her some time to think. However, whatever path she chooses, she's sure they'll meet again. Ash, Serena, Lissia and Brock all agree with this sentiment, and so after wishing each other luck, the 4 friends depart the Cerulean Gym, bound for Vermilion City. Heading south for several days, the group find themselves completely lost. Lissia and Ash's shared lack of direction senses in overdrive here, and by some fluke they manage to lead their friends into a field of waist-high grass in the center of an unknown forest. Politely, Serena suggests that maybe it's time someone else, perhaps Brock, as the only one among them who has a map and compass, lead the way. But stubbornly, Ash and Lissia insist that this is a shortcut, and everything will be fine. This is partially correct, as while not a shortcut, things do even out before too long, and the group find themselves in a clearing with a small spring. Sipping from the spring is an Oddish, and when it sees the newcomers, it starts, giving a terrified little squeak which draws the attention of a very protective Bulbasaur, who'd been watching from out of view. Excitedly, Ash declares his intention to catch the grass starter, bringing out Pidgeotto and telling it to use Wing Attack. However, with a mighty exhale, Bulbasaur is able to blow the bird off course, sending it careening into a tree and allowing the two grass types ample opportunity to flee. Ash is obviously disheartened by this lack of success in catching Bulbasaur, but after a quick pep talk from Brock and a break to refill their water bottles, he and the others are ready to continue their journey. This leads Ash and friends to a rickety rope bridge overlooking a rapidly flowing river. However, with no other way to cross, the four young trainers have no choice but to try their luck with the bridge. Unfortunately, it seems their luck has run out, as halfway across, the ropes holding the left side of the bridge snap, sending Brock plummeting into the river, and since he and Licia were holding hands at the time, she is pulled in after him. Crying out their friends' names, Ash and Serena struggle to get to the other side so they can drop down to the riverbank. By the time they do this, Brock and Licia are long gone thanks to the speed of the current. But nonetheless, Ash and Serena follow the river, hoping they'll be able to catch up with their friends. However, the only catching they do is far less desirable, as when Ash breaks a tripwire, he and Serena are caught up in a large net suspended from a tree. Being in such close quarters, it would be impossible to bring out any of their Pokemon without hurting each other, and so it seems they are well and truly snared. Thankfully, help is not far away, as moments later Brock makes himself known, freeing his companions and welcoming them to the Hidden Village. He then leads them back to a cabin where Licia is waiting, explaining that the Hidden Village is a sanctuary for abandoned Pokemon, and the traps around this place were laid by the caretaker, a woman named Melanie. Melanie then introduces herself, telling Ash and Serena that they are welcome to stay, but they must promise they won't try to catch any of the Pokemon here. Ash and Serena give their word, and so Melanie gives them the tour. It is here that they run into Bulbasaur and Oddish again, with Oddish still being quite shy, while Bulbasaur glowers at Ash and his friends. Smiling fondly, Melanie explains that Bulbasaur here is the guardian of the village and its Pokemon, being deeply distrustful of trainers. Ash gives Bulbasaur a smile of his own, offering it a hand to shake, but the grass starter merely slaps it away with a vine whip, before slinking away to watch them from a safe distance. Aside from his cold reception, the Hidden Village is a paradise, with Pikachu, Cosplay Pikachu and Eevee getting to play with the other Pokemon, while Ali, Pidgeotto and Geodude explore the skies around the village. Beedrill and Butterfree hang out in a tree not too far from the cabin, and Quaxley has a grand time paddling in the lake with the other water types. However, paradise cannot last forever, and just a few hours into their visit, Ash and Co are joined by a trio of unwanted guests, Team Rocket. Once more they are traveling on a giant vacuum, though this time one that floats via balloons. Furiously, Ash asks if these bozos ever learn, but Jessie retorts that as a certified Pokemon Tech dropout, it's pretty clear that she doesn't. Realizing too late this is not the cutting quip she thought it was, the maroon-haired woman attempts to cover her gaffe by activating the suction. But unlike Team Rocket, Ash and his friends do learn, immediately springing into action to destroy the machine like the last one. This time Onix uses its large body to create a barricade so no one is sucked up, while the two Pikachu prepare to blow up the machine with an electric attack. However, before they can act, Bulbasaur urgently barks at them to stop, gesturing with its Vine Whip to Oddish, who has been lifted into the air and is being pulled into the hose. Despite its best efforts, Bulbasaur's twin vines are too short to reach its little friend, and as the pair of grass types cry out in sorrow, Ash leaps over the barricade, allowing himself to be sucked up and using his greater mass to be pulled in faster than Oddish. This allows him to plant his feet on either side of the nozzle, preventing him from being pulled inside, while with his arms he grabs Oddish, holding it close to his chest. Anger in his voice, Meowth declares that if the twerp wants to play hard to get, he'll just turn up the power, but as he leans over the edge, Oddish fires off two razor leaves, one which slices the controller in half, while the other slashes Meowth's face as payback for this attack. Seeing its success, Oddish then opens fire on a razor leaf barrage into the depths of the machine, with Bulbasaur and the other grass types joining in. Together, they are able to shred the hose, rendering the machine useless, before moments later overloading it with leaves and causing it to explode and rid them of Team Rocket once and for all. Leaping from Ash's arms, Oddish runs back to its friends, who praise its act of heroism. Proudly, Oddish stands tall, and with a smile, Bulbasaur uses its vines to pat the armless grass type on the back. A little while later, Ash, Serena, Licia, and Brock prepare to leave, thanking Melanie for her hospitality and wishing her and the Pokemon luck. However, before they can go, Ash is stopped by Bulbasaur, who growls at him, though not in an antagonistic way. Looking confused, Ash asks what's up, and Melanie replies that she thinks now that Oddish has stepped up as the Hidden Village's new defender, Bulbasaur knows it's time to move on, and would like to do so with Ash. Beaming, Ash asks if that's true, and Bulbasaur nods, though also extends its vines to say, "Only if you can best me in combat." it. Accepting the grass type's challenge, Ash has Pidgeotto come out to battle. Once more it opens with Wing Attack, and once more Bulbasaur attempts to blow it away. However, this time Pidgeotto is ready, and so pivoting hard, it manages to avoid the gust and strike true with a super effective move that knocks Bulbasaur off its feet. As the bulbed reptile goes flying, Pidgeotto strikes again, this time from below, and this is enough to down Bulbasaur, allowing Ash to hurl a Pokeball and add it to his team. That night a heavy fog sets in, and so it is gloomy going the next day as the four friends continue their journey. Around mid-morning they spy something tall and menacing looming out of the fog, though when Serena's scream tips it off to their presence, its upper section moves, revealing a small flame which cuts through the gloom, showing that it is in fact a Charmander perched atop a rock. Brock, as a breeder, can immediately tell that something is wrong with Charmander. It's incredibly weak, looking as though it hasn't eaten for days. Thankfully, Brock has some spare Pokemon food on hand, and so doles out a few pellets, encouraging the fire lizard to eat up. Feebly, Charmander gulps down the food, and at once its tail flame grows a little brighter. However, when Brock says that he still thinks it would be best if he brought it to Nurse Joy, the fire starter bites his hand, angrily barking something that is clearly meant as a refusal. Passionately, Brock tries to reason with it, telling Charmander that this is for its own good, but the fire type is resolute, stubbornly refusing to go anywhere, and biting at anyone who tries to move it. Sighing that he guesses he can't help Charmander, Brock pours out another serving of Pokemon food, then leads his friends to the nearby Pokemon Center. That evening, while enjoying dinner in the Pokemon Center common room, Ash, Serena, Licia, and Brock overhear an obnoxious conversation from a group of young men. It seems they're having a good laugh, and when the four friends listen in, they realize it is because their leader is proudly recounting how he abandoned his Charmander, promising to come back for it despite having no such plans. This sets Ash and Brock's blood boiling, and so they quickly rush over to confront the cruel trainer and his friends, finding to their surprise that he was one of the participants in the battle tournament back in Rota, who lost to Gary. Seemingly recognizing them in the same way, he greets them with familiarity, introducing himself as Damien and asking if they want to join him and his friends and tell them how awesome he was in the tournament, but the boys sharply decline, saying what they want is for him to go get his Charmander. Smile curdling, Damien snaps that he doesn't know what business it is of theirs, but pointing out the window, Brock retorts that it's raining, and if that rain extinguishes Charmander's tail flame, it'll die. This still doesn't move Damien, much to our hero's disgust, and as the rain begins to intensify outside, Brock declares that if Damien won't do the right thing, then he will. Stopping only to grab their raincoats, Brock, followed by his friends, dash out the door and into the brewing storm, and in spite of the lashing rain and whipping winds, they do not stop until they reach Charmander's rock. Thanks to the food Brock left, Charmander is in a slightly stronger condition, but it is still not well, and to make matters worse, a flock of Spearow are attacking it. Remembering what vicious creatures Spearow can be, Ash and Pikachu volunteer to hold them off while the others get Charmander to safety, an offer which Brock, Licia, and Serena accept. As the trio wrap Charmander in Ash's raincoat and run back towards the Pokemon Center, Ash and Pikachu stand firm, glaring they don't know if these are the same Spearow who attacked them back on Route 1, but either way what they are doing to Charmander is unacceptable. For that reason, Ash will give them a choice: disperse or face the power of Pikachu's Thunderbolt. Arrogantly, the flock of birds think they can take down one little rat, but this is promptly proved to be a misapprehension, when Pikachu uses the conductive rain to roast them all with a single attack. When he arrives back at the Pokemon Center, Licia and Serena are waiting for Ash, and with a mix of worry and relief in their voices, they tell him they got Charmander to Nurse Joy in time, but it's still touch and go, and so Brock is currently with Charmander, doing all he can for it. Comfortingly, Ash smiles that if Brock and Nurse Joy are looking after it, Charmander is going to be fine, and this in turn makes the girls smile as they agree, leading him over to a bench where they can wait for Brock and Charmander to return. The next morning, Brock is woken by the feeling of fire on his skin. He must have dozed off by Charmander's bedside while waiting for the little lizard to wake up. To his relief, when he looks at it, Brock can see that Charmander has made a full recovery, though this means it has nothing stopping it from trying to return to its waiting place. Leaning down so that he and Charmander can be face to face, Brock soberly tells it that this is a mistake, since Damien isn't coming back for it. Furiously, Charmander barks at its denial, but Brock assures that he's telling the truth, urging it to trust him. When Charmander refuses, Brock changes tack, offering it a deal. Let him prove the truth of his words, and if he cannot, he'll leave Charmander on its rock with all the Pokemon food he has, so it can wait for Damien as long as it likes. After a moment of consideration, Charmander agrees, and so on Brock's instruction, it stays where it is while Brock goes to talk with his friends. is. About half an hour later, Brock is back in the common room of the center when Damien saunters over to him, saying that Nurse Joy had told him he had something to say to him. Placing his backpack on a chair beside Damien and smiling amiably, Brock says that he overreacted last night and wants to apologize. Charmander is his Pokemon, and it's not his place to tell him how to raise it. But at the same time, he does want what's best for Charmander, so he thinks he has a deal that will suit everyone. He'll trade Damien for it. This catches the blue-haired boy's interest, and so he tells Brock to elaborate, which the elder boy does, saying he is a gym leader, so each of his Pokemon is of gym leader caliber. Therefore, any of them would be a valuable addition to his team, and it's not like he was ever going to go back for Charmander, so it's just a pure win for him. Damien laughs that Brock must be stupid or something to offer that deal, but he's right, he is never going back for that worthless runt, so Brock can have it in exchange for his most powerful Pokemon. Smiling placidly, Brock says he knows just the one, pulling a ball from his belt while Damien brings out Charmanders. When the transaction is complete, Brock eagerly urges Damien to check out his new Pokemon, which the greedy youth is all too happy to do, opening the ball and finding a rice ball inside. Written on the rice ball in ketchup is just one word: busted. And when Damien looks back at Brock to demand he give his Pokeball back, he instead sees Charmander poking its head out of Brock's backpack, looking healthy, hale, and utterly enraged. Knowing the trouble he's in, Damien tries to play off his comment as a joke, but Charmander has heard enough, and so without mercy, belches flames which coat Damien's entire body. Howling in pain, the youth runs for the door, but to his surprise finds his way blocked by Ash, Lycia, Serena, and the person they had left to retrieve, Officer Jenny. Coldly, Jenny tells Damien that she heard his whole confession, and he is under arrest for Pokemon abandonment, Pokemon cruelty, and reckless endangerment. Howling in self-pity, Damien cries that it's not fair and he was set up, but Jenny doesn't want to hear it, instead cuffing Damien and escorting him to her squad car. As she drives away with Damien in tow, Charmander's expression turns mournful. Even if Damien was a terrible trainer, he was still its trainer, and now it isn't sure what to do or where to go. Fortunately, there is someone with an idea, as Brock, still holding Charmander's Pokeball, kneels down and asks if it would like to come with him. Tears fill the little lizard's eyes at this, and as it throws its arms around Brock, the pewter gym leader hugs it, promising that he'll never abandon it. Sniffing, Charmander softly licks the place it had previously bitten Brock as an apology, and Brock takes this as all the confirmation he needs, gently returning Charmander to its Pokeball. As the group continue on towards Vermilion City, Lycia shares something Officer Jenny told her on the way back to the Pokemon Center, that a group of abandoned Squirtle have been causing trouble around here. Brock promises to keep an eye out for tricks and traps, but Lycia laughs that her beau misunderstands. She hopes they get to meet them. A little puzzled, Ash and Serena ask why, and Lycia explains that she's always admired Kanto's water starters, how they so effortlessly look both cool and cute, kinda like her. Turning around so she can face her friends, Lycia strikes a pose to prove her point, and in doing so walks backwards into a pitfall trap. Up above, Lycia's friends attempt to pull her out, but it seems they're not alone, as 4 Squirtle in round sunglasses led by a 5th in pointed shades quickly appear from behind some bushes, laughing at Lycia's fall. Angrily, Ash tells them to stop, but Brock urges his friend to calm down. Doesn't he remember what Officer Jenny told Lycia? These Squirtle were abandoned, so maybe they harbor the same ill will to humans that his Bulbasaur used to. Seeing the sense in this, Ash brings Bulbasaur out and asks it to talk with the Squirtle squad for him, while Brock asks Charmander to do likewise, hoping they will see that they are not enemies and let them pass. At first, things seem to be resolving amiably, but then an uninvited advocate enters the mix. Eager to help, Quaxley pops out of its own ball and waddles over to join the conversation, and its naivety, mixed with its boundless confidence in the goodness of humans, quickly get on the squad's nerves. When this reaches a boiling point, one of the Squirtle lashes out, firing a small burst of water at the duckling to shut it up, and this incenses Bulbasaur as a protector of the weak, who quickly repays the Squirtle with a smack from its Vine Whip for daring to attack a baby. From there it all goes downhill, with the squad rallying to avenge one of their own, while Charmander, Quaxley and Bulbasaur are forced to meet their attacks with equal strength. Frantically, the 4 trainers attempt to break this fight up, but their efforts are in vain, as both sides are too angered to let it go, and all they achieve is to draw the attention of another group who had been watching from their balloon, Team Rocket. As per usual, the villains begin to recite their motto, but with a sigh, Ash asks if they can skip it today, since they've got real problems to deal with. Sounding wounded, James asks what he's implying, and Licia answers for him, saying the trio probably have another vacuum machine, and they're gonna blow it up just like the last two. However, this makes Jesse cackle that this was a very poor choice of words, as they in fact traded in their Super Sucker 3000 for a crate of bombs. To prove she's not kidding, Jesse pulls out one of the blast balls and lights the fuse, telling them to either hand over all their Pokemon or be blown to Kingdom Come. However, a moment later the fuse goes out, and looking down at the culprit, Jesse finds the lead Squirtle, who used water gun to extinguish the flame, and is now laughing uproariously at her while its friends follow suit. Refusing to allow this slight to her pride, Jesse lights it again and lobs it at the Squirtle squad. However, another Squirtle just as easily puts it out, causing the orb to clatter harmlessly to the ground. Beside her, Meowth wonders aloud if it's too late to get the Super Sucker back, but Jesse snaps at him to shut up and start lighting fuses, since those blasted Squirtle can't put them all out. A little scared, James and Meowth begin to light and deploy blast balls, and Jesse is right. The 5 Squirtle are not able to extinguish them all on their own. Thankfully, the Squirtle squad not alone, as Ash, Serena, Brock and Licia have their Pokemon help protect the Squirtle squad. Together, they're able to keep the bombs at bay, with Bulbasaur's Razor Leaf cutting fuses, and Quaxly using its own water to put out a few, while Charmander even helps by carrying away the diffused blast balls so they don't start piling up. The two groups even start helping each other out, with Bulbasaur swatting away a ball which might have struck the Squirtle it had previously slapped, while that Squirtle in turn extinguishes one that Quaxly misses, and it seems as though this crisis might be averted after all. However, all it takes is for one blast ball to slip through the cracks, and in the midst of such a heavy onslaught, such an outcome is inevitable. It is Licia who notices a still lit ball hit the ground behind the lead Squirtle, and seeing how short the fuse is, doesn't waste any time pulling it to safety as the explosive detonates. Looking back at the crater that would have been it had Licia not intervened, the lead Squirtle gives the Sootopoleon a wide smile, and feeling the beginnings of a bond forming, Licia tells it to use water gun, not on the blast balls, but on Team Rocket. Squirtle is happy to obey, and as the jet of water hits Meowth squarely in the face, he yells that he can't stand being wet, dropping his blast ball in the process. As the ball hits the floor of the hot air balloon basket, Jesse and James lambast him for being careless, but in doing so, distract themselves long enough for it to detonate, igniting all the remaining blast balls in their crate and sending them blasting off again. Seeing that the battle is done, the two groups begin to celebrate, but their fun is cut short when a blaring siren fills their ears. Officer Jenny is back, having been drawn to the sound of an explosion, and with anger in her voice, she asks what trouble the Squirtle squad have been up to this time. However, with a big smile, Licia tells the policewoman that this time the Squirtle squad actually saved the day. This shocks Jenny, but with a rueful smile, she admits that she might have judged them too harshly all this time, offering to make amends by deputizing them, and working together to stop more bad guys in the future. Happy to have someone recognize their value at last, the Squirtle squad are happy to accept, all except one, the leader, who instead turns to Licia, asking if it can travel with her instead. This sets stars in the girl's eyes, and without hesitation she agrees, bringing out a ball and adding the final Kanto star to her team. From here, the road to Vermilion City is a peaceful one, with Ash and his friends making it a whole week without running into trouble. To celebrate this, and the closeness to their destination, the group decide to stop and have some fun at a nearby beach in the shadow of a lighthouse. Here the 4 friends and their Pokemon are able to enjoy a day of R&R, swimming, sunbathing, and building sandcastles. However, such relaxation builds up an appetite, and as Brock begins to make preparations for lunch, he asks Ash if he can go fill a pot with water so he can boil it. Ash is happy to help out, and so with Pikachu on his shoulder, heads further down the beach to not disturb Licia and Serena, who are currently playing in the water with their Pokemon. Soon Ash finds a perfect spot, and so wades in, submerging the pot before pulling it back up. However, to his surprise, water is not the only thing inside, as a small Krabby scuttles along the base of the pot. Playfully, Ash tells it to move along unless it wants to be bisque, but the diminutive crustacean takes this as a threat, leaping out of the pot and clamping a pincer around Ash's nose. At once the boy recoils, howling in pain and dropping the pot, but luckily, Pikachu is there to help, firing off a super effective thunderbolt which strikes Krabby head on. Unfortunately, this also hits Ash, and so as the pair collapse onto the sand, Pikachu rubs the back of his head apologetically. Getting to his feet, Ash tells Pikachu not to worry about it, refilling the pot and preparing to return to camp. However, before he can go, he notices Krabby still lying in the sand unconscious, and looking to Pikachu, asks what the Electro-type thinks he should do. Pikachu's answer could not be plainer: catch it. And with a grin, Ash admits that he is a little jealous of Serena and Lycia's new water types. Pulling out a Pokeball, Ash hurls it at the unconscious Crab, and without resistance, the stars flash, making Krabby the 5th member of Ash's team. From here on in, the rest of the day is spent in play, and not having any need for a phone, the gang leave the beach at twilight, continuing on their way until they arrive in Vermilion City, the site of their next gym battle and Pokemon contest. And that's where we'll leave things. How will everyone's new catches help them in their upcoming challenges? What obstacles will Ash and Lycia face in pursuit of the Thunder Badge? And who will go home with the coveted Vermilion ribbon? Find out as the journey continues.